I'm standing here not as a candidate running for office, but as an educator, as an American, as a father who is mourning the loss of innocent lives in our country and stressing about what we can do to bring better for our schools, our children, and our nation. I was leaving school last Wednesday when I got the alert on my phone of the shooting in Parkland. And I put my phone back in my pocket because I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that this had happened again. And I didn't say anything else about it until I got home. As my wife and I were putting our 2 young boys to bed, I looked at her and I said, "Did you hear what happened in Florida?" Her response was no. So I mouthed to her so my 2 boys wouldn't hear. School shooting. And they said to her, 17. And both of us didn't say another word until our boys were sleeping in bed. And we both met in the kitchen, and I don't remember how long it lasted. But we stood there, and we hugged, and we were both in tears. Because the thing about my wife and myself is we're both educators. She's a kindergarten teacher. I'm an administrative teacher in a school in Camden. And we both know that if this happened in our schools, we would not be coming home to our families. If our children's, if our students' lives were in danger, we would do everything we possibly could to make sure that they were safe at the expense of ourselves. And that's not just us. That is so many other educators throughout this country. But we shouldn't have to continue to do this. And what's even harder than that is going into school the very next day and addressing students about the shooting that just happened, about 17 people just being murdered. Because what do you say to kids? How do you have that conversation? Because they want to ask you and they want to know, how do we keep our school safe? What do we do? And you give them the stock response. Make sure all the doors are closed. Make sure you don't let anybody in that you don't know. Make sure you take the drills that we do seriously. I'm tired of participating in lockdown drills that are preparing my students to die. I'm tired of being a part of that and preparing them for an eventual school shooting. We need to do more. See, in this country, there is no reason why AR-15s and assault rifles and semi-automatic weapons are legal. Period. As a responsible gun owner, I can say there is zero reason for those.
Zero.
There is no reason why I can go across state lines and buy guns that are legal in my state and bring them back without so much as a simple background check. No reason whatsoever.
No reason. No.
There is no reason why in this country we have not established a universal background check that allows our agencies to work together to identify possible issues before people go to buy a gun.
No reason.
There is no reason why in this country you do not have to take a test in order to be able to own a gun.
No reason.
Now think about that for a second. In order to get a driver's license, you have to take a written test and a skills test. Why is that not the same in order to be able to own a gun? Cars are dangerous. Guns are more dangerous. There is no reason why we're not having conversations about insurance for guns. We have to insure our cars to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and the people in public. So why aren't we having that same conversation when it comes to guns?
No reason.
No reason.
No reason.
No reason. Now, I'm hearing a lot about raising the age to be able to purchase a gun from 18 to 21. And as a science teacher, I got to drop a little knowledge, because what science and mental health is telling us now is that adolescence typically ranges from 12 to 13 years old to 24 to 25. That most people, their brains are not fully developed and mature until the age of 24, 25. I can tell you from personal experience that that is true. So when we're having this conversation, these are the things that we need to take into consideration. And I'll tell you what the answer is not. The answer is not arming our teachers, period. I had a conversation with 8th grade students this morning, 3 young men, and they said, hey, Mr. Thom, did you hear what Trump wants to do now? He wants to give teachers guns. What do you think about that? And my response to them was, well, what do you think about that? One student said, well, school's tough, and people have really bad days, and people get frustrated, and I don't think it's safe to have guns at schools, because it might be very easy to take that gun. That gun could get lost or misplaced. That gun could accidentally go off. And I looked at him and I said, okay, I agree. Another student said, I see guns enough. I see violence enough. In life, in TV, I do not need to see them in my school.
Yeah.
Now these are 8th grade students. And that's the problem, is our youth know the solutions. They're screaming for it. They're dying for it. And if we don't start doing something soon, what is going to happen? Because at the end of the day, no person, no adult, no parent should ever have to think about or experience what it is like to send your child to school and for them to never come home. As a parent, I cannot tell you the amount of tears that I have shed thinking about what might happen that ever happened to my children. Because we deserve better. And everybody that's out here, our youth, and everybody that is supporting our youth in this fight, people who are marching to Florida and demanding change for their legislators, our youth and our people who are out here right now at protests and at rallies and vigils to demand change. Our people who are running and putting their names on the ballot to run for office to create real change. Recognize that the fight is not going to be easy. We are fighting the National Rifle Association, and we are trying to get their influence and their money out of our government, out of politics for good.
Yeah.
So this fight will not be simple. It will not be short. It will not be easy. But we are going to fight, and we are going to fight like hell to make sure that this happens. Because the lives of our children, the lives of the innocent, our future depends on it. And until we can do that, we will never be able to put our future first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo!